So the second film we'll be talking about is The Peanut Butter Falcon. After running away from a residential nursing home to pursue his dream of becoming a pro wrestler, a man who has Down syndrome befriends an outlaw who becomes his coach and ally. First off, I love how that... I just took this off Wikipedia. I love how it says a man who has Down syndrome rather than a Down syndrome man. Because I love how this film is all about how just because he was born this way doesn't mean that defines him. He is not a Down syndrome person. He is a person who has Down syndrome. So shout out to Wikipedia.
Yeah, and I actually made note here that this reminded me of when you were talking about Pain and Glory, and you'd said how this is a film with a gay relationship in it, but it's not a film about...
Yeah, it's not a gay film.
Yeah.
But it's a film with a gay relationship in it.
And I felt this film very much kind of had that similar feel.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because I think a lot of films are like, right, this is a disabled film. This is an LGBT film. And actually that kind of creates the problem rather than having a film with a story in it that follows a character or follows a certain story or something, which I feel is so much more important and so much more realistic and what people want.
One of the big things that I wanted to ask you about here first off was actually the casting of Shia LaBeouf, because he's a person that very much divides opinion. But I really liked the casting of Shia LaBeouf because I do think there's something like really rebellious and adventurous about him, and this was like the perfect film for him. I'd seen him in a film called American Honey by Andrea Arnold, and he plays like a real unpredictable wild guy in that, who there's almost something kind of mysterious about him, and I thought that was like his best role up to date. But then I now think this might be his best role because, yeah, there's just, I don't know, I feel like he suits this more than like the big Transformer movies or Indiana Jones.
Yeah, the reason I laugh was because every time I think of Shia LaBeouf, my head straight goes where he goes to that song about him being a cannibal in the woods. But he is much more than just that. He is such an incredible actor, and I really loved him in this. Like always, I hadn't seen the trailer, so again, I had no clue what I was about to see. But from all the posters, it looked very bright and beautiful, and people were saying it was kind of the most heartfelt movie of the year. So I was really intrigued to see all these characters, but especially Shia, as I feel that I grew up watching him on Even Stevens. So yeah, to see him kind of grow up from that into these kind of really big roles, like you said, Transformers and then Holes and all sorts of things, this was amazing. You could really see he really got into the role and was really this character. And overall, I really did like the character. And yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, what did you make of these two lead characters and their friendship and kind of how they come together and go on this journey together? Because I was quite interested how at no point in this film does their friendship waver. Maybe I'm forgetting a moment, but no moment where Tyler, who's Shia LaBeouf's character, or Zach, who's played by Zach Gottsagen, they never have a big fallout, do they? There's no moment where Zach goes off in a huff or where Tyler goes off in a huff.
No, it's so lovely. I did think kind of as their friendship began to blossom, I was like, does Tyler feel sorry for Zach? But then I kind of began to realise that no, he has found someone that he is truly friends with and truly loves him and appreciates him, because obviously Tyler, kind of through little bits of flashbacks, we understand that whether he crashed a car and his brother passed away or something, we see that he's felt empty for a long time and has finally found something that could possibly not replace his brother but could replace the broken heart that he has. That was sad.
Yeah, and there is a mention of Mark Twain in this film, and obviously any kind of story like this in the American South, you're going to get those comparisons. It really did remind me of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, in the sense that you have these two people who are maybe struggling to fit in society and find their place, who come together and go on this journey together and find refuge in each other. So I thought that was really sweet, and it certainly makes sense why they would find this deep connection with each other, because they're both lacking in family and just general acceptance from the people around them.
Yeah, it was really lovely. As in all films I say about, it's like, warning, you don't know them, I won't become friends with them, like, I'm not trusting of people. So the fact that these two strangers kind of don't gain trust kind of overnight, but slowly begin to realise that they do need one another to survive, is really a sweet and lovely idea, rather than just becoming friends kind of straight away, that a lot of films do, which kind of stresses me out, because like, that wouldn't be real. This felt very realistic, and I just thought it was so lovely. It genuinely was so lovely. And there were bits that, it was quite a full cinema showing. I went on a Sunday, or was it Saturday? It's either a Saturday or Sunday evening, and there was a lot of people there, which was really nice to support such kind of a film that only has kind of 1 or 2 showings at each cinema, really, which was really nice. But there were bits where the whole cinema kind of awed together and laughed all together and smiled all together. It was you kind of became friends with them as well. We went from this stage of we don't know them, we don't trust them, to actually they all have good intentions and we all want to be friends. And I want to get in on this handshake malarkey.
Yeah, I'd written that down. Just tons of sweet moments and like really beautiful visually and emotionally moments. Secret handshakes, that's something that I always used to do at school. No more, I don't have any secret handshakes anymore.
Me and my little brother have a secret handshake. It's great.
But I was going to ask you what's it involved, but
it's a secret. It's a secret, I'm sorry. What I really loved was where it was set. Being set in North Carolina, we see these beautiful lakes and nature and the long grass, and really get a sense of their kind of community and their work and like the fishing and stuff. And because I don't feel that I've seen anything like this, although it reminded me of that short documentary we watched. What it was called? The refugee.
The Lowlands.
Yeah, called Lowlands, which kind of looked at similar...
The Lowland Kids, sorry.
The Lowland Kids, yeah, if we're going to get it right, the Lowland Kids. Which looked at a similar kind of landscape. Just after watching that and like hearing about all that and then seeing this, it made it felt like it wasn't real, like it wasn't a real place. Like it was kind of this fantasy, middle of nowhere, kind of beautiful on the water. Like, I don't know, it was kind of when they get the raft and kind of kids floating down, kind of Famous Five. It didn't feel real. So it was nice to then kind of see their journey to Florida, to be like, no, it is a real place. They are travelling. And I don't know, to me it just felt like it was this magical kind of surreal thing.
I definitely feel like when you're in that part of America, there is almost like this folklorish kind of mythical thing. And I saw this with my mother, and she said it kind of reminded her of Oh Brother Where Art Thou? And I can definitely get that.
So obviously we can't talk about this film without talking about the main man himself, the Peanut Butter Falcon, and that is Jack Sargon. He was phenomenal, and I can see him being nominated for literally everything because he was amazing. He really stole the show in this kind of breakout role. And in my notes I wrote literally, ha ha ha, because obviously he did break out of the nursing home.
Oh.
And I want to know what your kind of thoughts on that were, kind of the beginning and how this started, and obviously him being kind of trapped in this place that obviously wasn't home. Just the kind of the story, the basics. Obviously we looked at their friendship and how that grew, but the basic story, did you enjoy it, or would you have liked something a bit more complex, or were you not really sure how it would go?
For me, I feel like the story was very simple. It was just two guys going on this journey together and, as I said, discovering connection with each other and finding strength within each other. I didn't have a problem with that though, because everything in between was really sweet. Even the opening with I think Bruce Dern's the actor helping him escape. It's all quite sweet and playful, and yeah, I don't mind if a film's predictable and maybe a little bit one note if it's very good at that, and I think this film was incredibly good at that. Were there any moments where, as you say, you were checking your watch or getting a little bit restless?
The only time I checked my watch was I knew that it would be finishing kind of... I went to a 6 o'clock-ish screening. No, it must have been later than that. But I knew it was going to finish kind of around 10 to 9 o'clock. And I looked at my watch at 8:45 and was like, okay, it's kind of got 5-10 minutes. What's going to happen? And it was like, I was intrigued to be like, oh my god, how are they going to wrap this up? Like, what are they going to do? I really like the story. Like you said, the simplicity of it was beautiful. And I think I've been watching Bake Off, not like obsessively, like I don't know anyone, but I quite like watching them bake. And I think a lot of times if they choose a really simple thing, they have to execute it so well. Whereas if they choose a really elaborate thing, it's harder to execute. So with a film that's very elaborate and all over the place, so many storylines, you can easily get lost in it and so confused. But with something simple like this, that's kind of simpler to execute, but actually quite difficult to at the same time, they really hit the nail on the head and got this so spot on. It was just the perfect film to sit down and watch and really just absorb out of it. I don't know, but really become kind of involved in these characters and what they wanted to do. Yeah, it was the most kind of simple story, but at the same time, it was the most kind of fascinating and something that I've never seen before, and one that I've possibly enjoyed more than one of those elaborate, hard to execute things.
Yeah, and it was only 97 minutes, which is always good to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, the lead performances are incredible, and one of the most interesting kind of character arcs in this, and I think the biggest character arc, is in Dakota Johnson's character, because she has really good intentions, but the way she treats Zach, she's overprotective and motherly to him, and yeah, it's quite interesting to see her stance change as she sees Zach out living his life and really doing things that she thought maybe he wasn't capable of.
Yeah, I really loved kind of seeing her growth. It really made me kind of intrigued, because on the posters, obviously it's the three of them, Zach, Shia and Dakota on the poster, the three of them kind of on this adventure, and I was intrigued to see when she'd finally catch up to them, / what she'd see along her way, / how she would become part of this journey, because obviously she's very like, sorry, I just had this idea of shaking my head saying, you're coming with me. When she gets out of the van, you know what I mean? I don't know why. But it's basically like she gets out of the van, you're coming with me, but then...
That's a terrible Scottish accent, by the
way. Wait, I need to be like, I was laughing. You're coming with me.
Okay,
that was
that's
better,
very
wasn't
good.
it?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. I'm here all week. And then obviously the keys are thrown, and then she kind of has to get into this world. And I love that it was kind of, you either get into this world or just have a miserable time. And she kind of embraced it kind of slowly and steadily. But it was really nice to see her kind of change and grow and kind of understand and learn from this person who she'd helped and looked after and cared for. Yeah, it was really lovely. I love that bit where he catches the fish. Like, where they're like, we need to talk, so see how long you can hold your breath underwater. It's like, go again, Zach. Diddle-a-doo. I've got a fish! What? It really was, such a beautiful, beautiful film. And I think my favourite bit, because obviously he's travelling to the wrestling school, and they stop halfway to Tyler's journey to Florida, and they find the house, but obviously the wrestler isn't a wrestler anymore, and Tyler's like, we just waited to my friend to give him, like, some time of day. And then they walk away, and I was a bit like, where is this film going to go now? Are they going to go to Florida and maybe there'll be wrestlers there? But then when the car appears, genuinely, I was smiling from ear to ear. I was so happy. And when, it's simple things like that. And I've written down kind of, even though we see Tyler as a bad person to begin with, he isn't a bad guy. Stuff has happened and he's had to kind of choose one option or the other. It's kind of kill or be killed, really. And not everyone is a bad person, and people will help you get your dreams. And this wrestler guy, oh my gosh, he has my heart. I watched films on, like, so many film characters and, like, documentary people have my heart because they're just such wonderful people. So that wrestler guy, damn, good guy that.
Yeah, I can't think of his name now. He had quite a funny...
like, the red...
It doesn't matter.
It read something.
The saltwater redneck.
There we go.
Yeah, and it's funny that they use professional wrestling because it is kind of this fun, over-the-top way for people to find strength and empowerment. And as we saw with that rain dance short, Queen of the Dinosaurs, I think it was called. But I should say, someone who grew up as a wrestling fan, there are two wrestlers in this who were real life wrestlers. Jake the Snake Roberts, who's the kind of guy with the cigarette who he wrestles at the end.
He's a real wrestler.
He was a real wrestler. So he looked giant in this film.
He is a bad man.
He's in real life. He's a bit of a bad man in real life as well. His character when he was in WWF was he'd carry a snake around in a bag and unleash the snake on the people he defeat.
A real snake.
A real snake. And yeah, once the snake bit Randy Macho Man Savage, and it's like it was before my time, but it's a really iconic moment. But yeah, he's a guy who's his whole life suffered with alcohol abuse and drug abuse, and just recently he's turned his life around. So
amazing.
Good that he's now in a movie. And the second guy was Mick Foley, who's a lot more famous, and you would probably recognise him because they get a really good shot of his like ear, which he's lost the outside of his ear basically when he was in a wrestling match in Germany, and he got caught in the ropes and his ear came off.
Oh my gosh.
So he's quite a famous wrestler.
Crazy times.
Yeah, and he's in it as well. He's the guy with the referee with the beard.
Oh, amazing that they've got like proper wrestlers and proper people involved. Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite fun that they're there. I'm guessing whoever made this is a fan of wrestling. Yeah. Whoever wrote this. yeah, quite sweet that they had those two in there, and yeah, they get their little movie moments.
Yeah.
And what did you make of the big wrestling match finish?
Oh my gosh, I was really scared for him to begin with, but that finish, when they were like, oh, that move doesn't exist, and then, whoa, it exists now. Again, grin from ear to ear.
Yes.
I'm Zach's biggest fan. Genuinely, such an amazing guy, and yeah, was not going to let anyone stop his dreams from coming true. And I love that he did not stay down. He got back up and fought, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a spirit that anyone can carry on into life. And one of the kind of final questions I want to ask you was, I felt there was something really romantic about their way of life, kind of travelling down together and just living a very simple life. And I don't know, I feel like, especially living near London, you can't imagine that kind of life for yourself. But for me, I was like, I want to join them and kind of become the third wheel in this group. Forget Dakota and let me in on it, because I don't know, it just seems like such a wonderful way to live your life.
I sometimes think I should just delete every bit of social media, get rid of my phone, and then just live so simply. And like, yeah, that really showed this, that you can do it and that you can have these amazing relationships without having a phone and stuff. And at times it did feel like it wasn't set in present day, like it could be something from years and years ago. But then obviously we see Dakota's character, and she's got a phone and she's driving and things. It was really kind of beautiful to see a whole kind of range of emotions and the sights and all that mixed together. And yeah, it just really created this beautiful, something that everyone should kind of aim towards, whether that is spending more time with people you love, meeting new people, going on adventures, following your dreams. Go for it. If the Peanut Butter Falcon can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. I think that's
He's my new hero.
A really sweet message of this film. And yeah, again, big thumbs up from me. I think this is a film a lot of people will sleep on, but it's a real treat, and it's one that's definitely worth going to see with friends and family.
Yeah, and I'm fingers crossing for a part 2.
Yes.
They could do a sequel. At the same time, I don't want them to, because this was so magic that I don't want that to ruin it. But they could.
Just throwing it out there, maybe.
Just throwing it out. But no, fantastic film. Definitely thumbs up from me. James, thumbs up from you?
Huge thumbs up from me. And yeah, that finishes off our episode.
Yeah, it's probably been a long one, but it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, there was my Shrek impression.
Highlight of the podcast, 100%.
But no, it was 2 really fantastic films, and 2 that aren't massive. I think Official Secrets has a lot more kind of showing times than Peanut Butter Falcon. I've noticed that Peanut Butter Falcon's kind of 6-7 o'clock in the evening, kind of once or twice a week. So it's definitely one to get whilst you can. But hopefully it's up on maybe streaming platforms and DVDs next year. And Official Secrets, definitely one that if you're, well, into politics, even not, just kind of love a British drama, and it's all true and it's fantastically done, which is really hard to do on kind of true stories and things. No, 2 fantastic films that we can't really kind of recommend enough.
Yeah, awesome.
There we go. That is the end of this podcast. Have a nice day or a nice week. You choose which one you want. You can't have both.
I'm going to choose the week, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Each to their own. No, we'll speak to you next time.